Hey everybody, and welcome to another edition of Get Sweaty. As usual, I am your friendly neighborhood soda, joined once again by Ben Big Fudge Rainer and a very wet-looking 50 Shades of Geek. How are you guys doing?
Happy Shavuot, everybody.
And for the layman's in the room, that is...
It's a Jewish holiday that I'm not 100% sure what people do in that holiday yet, but what I do know is they throw eggs at each other, they spray water at each other, and they eat lots and lots of dairy food. So, happy Shavuot, everybody.
That is a holiday I could partake in.
Yeah. It's a very summer-themed episode.
Yeah, no kidding. As long as the dairy is lactose-free, we're good.
Yeah. How about you, Ben?
I'm good.
As you can see today, Ben is morphed with a TV set, which is very appropriate because today we were given the unenviable task by Mr. Ben to come up with our top 5 favorite TV episodes of all time. Ben, you are an evil, evil son of a bitch.
I know I am, and I'm happy about it. Mm-hmm.
Curses. This is going to be a fun episode. I doubt there's going to be any punts. Yeah. So let's just hop right in. Ben, you evil mother Canucker, start it off.
My number 5 is from Seinfeld, not Contest.
Okay, you're going to have to explain.
Well, for those of you who don't know, this is about the 4 friends who go into a contest trying to see who could last the longest without, how do I put this on YouTube? Without...
If you can spoil it, Ben, the show's been off the air for 20 years.
No, I know, but without pressuring themselves.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And this is one of the funniest episodes you would ever see on the Seinfeld. They never do use the technical term, but the things that they go to do, A, distract themselves, and B, to keep themselves occupied. And it's a great comedic episode of Seinfeld. It's probably my favorite Seinfeld episode, and it's a must-see episod.
And of course it starts because George is the one that gets caught. I just looked up the plot. I'm like, of course it's George.
Oh my God, yeah, it is George. And you'll be laughing from the beginning to the end of the episode. It's great.
What did you say was the name of it again?
Not Contest.
10th episode of season 4. Okay, I know what I'm going to be looking at later. Oh, it's too funny. Of course it's George. God.
We live in a society.
Yeah, that man truly is the master of his domain.
Yes.
Now I know where that comes from.
Yeah. Okay, Matt, right here, number 5.
This is the only animated episode on my list, but it is an episode called Epilogue. It's from Justice League United Season 3. It's the final episode.
Oh!
You guys know what episode I'm talking about?
I know it. I've never seen it, but I hear great things about it.
Yeah.
Unlimited or the regular one?
Unlimited. So I'm going to read the brief plot summary off of Wikipedia because it's easier than my just woken up brain to be able to try to remember it. 15 years into the future of Batman Beyond, an elderly Amanda Waller reveals to an older Terry McGinnis that she created Project Batman Beyond to continue Bruce Wayne's legacy. Angry, Terry, who looks just like a young Bruce, is shocked to learn that he is Bruce's biological son. Amanda reveals that she knew the world would always need a Batman, so she tasked the Phantasm with killing Terry's parents after a movie just like Bruce's. However, she cannot go through with it. Terry mentioned that his father, Warren, was killed by Mr. Fix anyways. She explains that after this, she collected Bruce's DNA and artificially inseminated Terry's mother, Mary, by inserting the DNA into his father. She explains that he is not Bruce's clone, but his son. She shares that he has heart. Encouraged, Terry plans to propose to Dana and goes home to take care of an elderly Bruce before flying off for the night. Now, that epilogue doesn't actually reveal what makes this episode so great. So basically, Terry's really upset. He thinks bad Bruce Wayne is like a cruel monster who orchestrated this whole thing. And Amanda Waller tells him, no, he's actually got a heart. And there's a flashback to a battle that the Justice League had with the
Aces,
the Royal Flush Gang, I think is what they're
called.
Yeah,
the Royal Flush Gang. Yeah,
the Royal Flush Gang. And it turns out the character of Ace, who's the little kid, is dying, if I'm not mistaken, and that's why she's using her powers to like create this like Alice in Wonderland type of atmosphere and stuff like that, it's killing people. And Batman goes in, and when he deduces that she's dying, he sits with her until she finally breathes her last breath. He just completely stops fighting, and he just sits there, and he sits by her side, and he holds her hand.
Huh. Wow.
And I was like, that is pretty freaking powerful. That Batman really is a good guy.
The power of Bruce Timm and Paul Dini.
I have that. In the majority of the episode, the flashback?
I'd say it's about half and half.
Okay.
I'd say it's about half and half. Maybe a little bit more towards the non-flashback part. But the flashback itself is just that moment of Bruce sitting down and holding the girl's hand. It's just way too powerful.
Yeah. And what I love about it most is that it's a season 2 finale for Justice League Unlimited, but it's also a series finale for Batman Beyond.
Yeah, exactly. It works in both functions.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I know they had another season of Justice League Unlimited after that, but it's sort of like almost kind of like a closure to the entire DC animated universe from the 90s to 2000s.
Which is funny because this episode was originally supposed to end the DCAU. It was originally supposed to be the series finale of Justice League, but they decided not to do it because it's a pretty heavy topic.
And to be honest, that particular season of Justice League Unlimited, my opinion only, I think it's the greatest single season of television ever, start to finish.
It's been a bit since I've seen it. Like this is really the only episode that truly sticks in my mind, but I wouldn't argue with you on that.
Yeah, and I would argue that they didn't need necessarily a third season, but the third season was still very good. So I'm not complaining too much.
Let me ask you guys something. I know I grew up when these shows were on, but I never watched them. Do you think if I watch them now, would they have the same impact, or probably not?
Oh, God, yeah. Justice League in particular, yes.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's kind of hard, but I would recommend you start at the very, very beginning. Like I did, I just watch the whole thing, which it starts with Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, and then just continue to Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. And if you can slip in the time, just try to give it a shot to Batman Beyond, the Zeta Project, and Static Shock, because all those shows really connected to each other.
Yeah, I own all the series except for the last two you just mentioned, because I don't think I've ever seen them released on DVD.
Well, here's the thing.
The Zeta Project, that's the one thing DC is really trying to bury, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
Here's the thing. I watched a few episodes of Batman the Animated Series, and it doesn't speak to me like it does everyone else. I don't know if I should continue or.
Yeah, I mean it's worth a shot. If that's the case, I would just go straight into Justice League then. Like Superman, it's a good show, but it's not whatever. It's not like Batman or Justice League or what have you. But yeah, I would definitely go to Justice League because the stakes are bigger.
Okay, maybe I will.
I would argue give all of them a shot because, like we just mentioned with this episode, the payoff and like I said, the closure of all these different shows culminating in the end
Yeah.
of Justice League.
And for this particular episode, Batman Beyond, as you need to know, basically you need to know the
Who
story.
Terry McGinnis is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen I haven't seen all the animated movies, but one of the ones I have seen on Quack Mike is Return of the Joker.
Yes, I love that's a great movie.
I'm familiar with the
Okay.
Batman Beyond mythos.
Yeah.
And
But
that
yeah,
makes sense.
you can either watch them all. Like, I mean, hey, that's actually a great idea. Like, it is a good universe to binge. But if you just want to watch one, I would recommend just watch Justice League if you're just going to watch the one.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, so 50. Your number 5.
Well, speaking of Alice in Wonderland, my number 5 is actually an episode that I mentioned from a TV show I mentioned last week, Ed, Ed, and Eddie. And the name of the episode is 1 + 1 = Ed, because every single episode needed to have the word Ed inserted into a pun somehow. And I could just pull Matt and read you the description of the episode, but well, here is what it is, because the description is really short. The Eds decide to learn what things are made of by taking them apart. Their imaginations take over, and reality is bent in a surrealistic manner. That's literally the entire thing. And basically, the episode starts with Ed asking some ridiculous questions. They go to Double D's house. He's taking things apart, trying to figure out how an antique radio works and how this works and how everything is held together. They try to do some more stuff on other places. They take apart Rolf's chicken crib, whatever the name of it, and then everything just goes off the rail. And I don't know what they were smoking when they made that episode, but it is great. Basically, it challenges the boundaries of animation. Like, obviously, because it's animated, it's 2D animation, right? They take a tree out of its place and it's completely flat, like cardboard. Like, there's always these houses in the background. They step on some of them. They at some point, Eddie reaches behind the sun and just grabs it and eats it, which turns day into night. And they take out Jimmy's outline and he falls apart because he has no outline, because he's animated. He needs an outline. Like, it's hard to explain without seeing it. But like I said, like the description says, everything falls apart in a Alice in Wonderland type thing. And the further you go into the episode, the crazier things are. At some point, things are just floating, clouds are exploding. Like, it's crazy. It's definitely an episode you need to watch, and you need to watch it potentially sober, but then watch it again high for the experience. But you need to watch it to understand.
Done.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that was the one episode when that show was in circulation when I was growing up and I was watching it. That is the one episode I was hoping to see every time. But
that is a show that I'm very aware of, but I don't know how it missed me growing up.
I mean, from what I gathered, it didn't actually broadcast in Canada in its original run. That's what I heard, at least.
Well, that's possible. That's a very good possibility then.
It's weird because it's a Canadian show, but I mean, as Ed says in the episode, Canadians are weird.
Not wrong there.
Wow. Well, I'm a Canadian. That says something.
Still nowhere near as weird as you crazy ass Yanks. Yeah, you know that's true. You know that's true.
America Civil Wars Part 2.
I was going to say, you should see America from the outside.
I am seeing America from the outside.
Yeah, exactly. I got a front row seat. Sorry, just bugging, Bev. We're just busting your chops. Yeah, yank.
But yeah, just to finish off my pick, one of my favorite stuff that the episode starts with is Ed asking the immortal question: how can my feet smell if they don't have a nose?
Oh, that reminds me of this week's Mighty Ducks episode. Oh dear God. With the superstition of the socks.
Yes.
So a little bit of a spoiler, but in sports, there's this thing where if you're on a hot streak and they're like, say you wore the same underwear by accident or whatever during that hot streak, you generally would do that until you lose, right? All hockey players and sports people in general are just superstitious. Anyways, the goalie for the Mighty Ducks said during their win streak, he's never changed his socks, so he convinces the whole team to do it. But when they're like, then they start complaining about how it's like their socks have melted into their skin, whatever, they take it off. And when they take off the goalies, it doesn't crumple. It's molded into the shape of his foot. It's like, ugh. And then it's revealed afterwards he still had the socks on during the game. He just had it in his goalie helmet. It's like, oh, that's just gross.
Ugh. Is it any better or any worse than Bibiani standing for 3 hours in a free-for-all, though?
Oh, way worse. Way worse.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Okay, Ben, what's your number 4?
There's a chance he might get punted, but it's from The Office. It's a season 4 episode. It's a bundle episode moment. It's the dinner party.
Oh, goddamn, the dinner party.
This is classic humor to its power. This is, you know it. Yeah. Michael and Shan have Jim and Pam and Angela and Andy and Dwight and his babysitter over.
Yep.
It's insanity. It's, oh my God, it's so funny. It is, yeah.
My favorite part of the episode is Michael is so happy about his plasma screen TV, his little itty bitty thing, and then Jen gets mad and breaks it. Like the size of a postcard. It's just so freaking tiny. It's a great episode, but it's cringy. It's like cringy great.
Is that the cringiest of The Office? Like, I can still watch it, no problem.
Yeah.
And yet, it's still, yeah.
It's what I mean by cringy great. It's just like, it's cringy, but it's cringy in a good way. If that's possible.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I've been because I don't know when we're gonna cover it on our show, Ben. I've been bouncing back and forth on whether or not to start a binge of The Office again.
Yeah, it's going to be a while. I mean,
Yeah, I think I'll do that because I've been really itching to watch it again.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe that can be your next recapping the past.
We're going with the other show that's similar to that. We're doing Parks and Rec next time.
Okay, after that.
Yeah.
Eventually, you're gonna get there.
yeah. Okay, Matt, what is your number 4?
So my number 4 is from my former number 1 favorite show. It is episode 24 of season 6 of Home Improvement. It is an episode called Taps.
Great episode.
You know the one I'm talking about.
I know, yeah.
So this one is a departure because normally Tim the Toolman Taylor is the buffoon of the episode. He's always doing the screw up. He's the one learning the lesson. But this time, not necessarily the case. After completing a hectic quarter in college and is on a break, Jill gets a call from her father, the colonel, that he will be paying a visit. Jill, feeling tired, tells a lie to him, saying that it wouldn't be a good time to visit because she's feeling sick. But a few days later, he dies. Grief-stricken and feeling very guilty for lying, she flies to Texas to help in the funeral arrangements, and Tim the boys will join her in a couple days. While there, Jill tries to tell her mom and her sisters that she's okay, but they think she's sick and is putting a brave front. During the funeral, the minister presiding talks about how her father valued honesty, which makes her feel worse, so Jill decides to tell her mom the truth about when she wanted to visit. I love this episode because it just tugs at the emotional heartstrings so much, and Tim is the first true episode where you see him stand up and actually be a good husband, be a good father, and he's there for Jill the whole way while she's going through this existential crisis. Like, shit, the last thing I said to my dad was a lie. And she spends the whole episode dealing with that. And then she finds out after her mom tells her that the reason why her dad kept this particular stuffed elephant on the TV is because it reminded him of her. And that even though she wasn't there, she always was. And Such a good episode, but my favorite line of the episode is when they're after. I think it's after the funeral when they're doing like the wake and they're talking about the colonel, whatever. And Tim's holding court, and he's telling all these funny, hilarious stories. And my favorite one is when he's telling the first time he meets the colonel. He says he was on the business end of a bayonet, which means the colonel stabbed him in the butt with a bayonet. Yeah, it's a great episode with a lot of emotional conflict, and you really feel for Jill during this episode because she feels horrible about what happened.
They're so underrated. It's such a good show.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that it's not streaming anywhere over here sucks because I would be rewatching this all the time if I could.
Yeah, like I said, for a long time, this was my favorite episode. But there is another episode that almost ended up on here. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. Oh, it's called The Longest Day.
Oh my god!
It's the one It's the one where they find a lump on Randy. They think he might have cancer, and for a show that's primarily known for the goofiness, when they do these serious episodes, they do them really well.
There's also another episode I like. The one where Vincent dies.
Yeah, that's a good one because it shows Tim trying to go through his grieving process.
Right.
Yeah, no, Home Improvement is a very underrated show, and makes me happy that I own the entire series on DVD.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's always great when these sitcoms, like you said, they're known for their goofiness, but whenever they do one of those rare episodes with a lot of character development, a lot of heart, it's always great to see, and it reminds you why you love the show so much.
Yeah, and another one that could have made it on the list, this is my last one, is the vasectomy one. When my friend got his vasectomy, I sat him down and we watched this episode.
Oi.
For the immortal lines, how do you expect me to talk to a woman about what's going on in Manland? What, you got a theme park between your legs?
Oh, God.
Yeah. Oh, God. We're going to do the shot locally. Here in Detroit? No, here in the office. Screw it. This is the one I'm doing next. Okay. 50, what's your number 4?
Okay, my number 4 is an episode called Free Churro, and it's from the show BoJack Horseman. A show that I keep mentioning a lot on this weekly show that we're doing, and it's the only bottle episode on my list. I'm assuming it's probably going to be the only bottle episode on all of our lists, but basically, spoiler alert, okay? Because this show is relatively recent, and I know you guys haven't watched it yet, so this is a major spoiler alert. BoJack's mom died. And the entire episode, he's giving a eulogy at her funeral. And basically the entire episode is just him standing in front of a podium, talking shit about his mother and everything bad that she ever did to him, and everything bad she ever did to everyone else, and basically taking the piss out of everything that his mom ever did. And it's a beautiful, I mean, he's talking about his mom, but it's a beautiful introspective look at his character and how he came about, because they always say, and I know my mom is watching the show right now, they always say the blame starts with the mom. No matter however fucked up the son came out, it's always somehow the mom's fault. Not quite the case with BoJack Horseman, but she definitely played a huge part. I mean, obviously the dad was involved. Obviously he kind of fucked up his own life in a wide variety of different ways. But yeah, the entire episode is him just telling stories about his mom. And every time he says something outrageous or disrespectful about his mother, you hear the audience at the eulogy going, ooh. None of them really laughing at his jokes. When you're a comedian, it's kind of hard. But yeah, it's just the entire episode of him just going at it, taking the piss out of her mom. And here's another major spoiler alert. Major spoiler alert. Are any of you guys planning on watching this show soon?
Not in the near future. It's there, but not. I'm not going to start watching it tomorrow.
Okay, so
go ahead,
here's
spoil away.
okay. So major spoiler. He at the very end, he kind of comes to terms with who he is because of his mom, and what his mom is, and what kind of a person she is. And the entire time, he's just talking about how she wanted a closed casket, how she wanted an open casket funeral, but he gave her a closed casket because he didn't want to look at her. But right at the end, he's like, okay, maybe I can start to forgive my mom. Maybe I can actually finally look at her in her final moments. So he goes over, he opens the casket. There's a huge, confused look at his face. He takes a paper out of his pocket, looks at it. He looks at the people at the eulogy and realizes that he was in the wrong funeral the entire time.
Oh, God.
So all the horrible things he said was about a different person.
That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, and that's one of the greatest things about the show. How they're able to make you laugh so hard, but in such a subtle way. It's great.
Always guilty.
Whoops.
Yeah, I brought up at the same time.
Yeah, we clicked it on the same time.
Okay. Year number 4, Ben.
You know what I mean? My number 3?
That's
Three.
what I meant.
My number 3, I'm sure you guys both know it, is from Game of Thrones, Season 6, Episode 9, The Battle of the Bastards.
Yes! I guess. Oh, I love that episode.
This episode might be the best episode on TV ever. I mean, you have these two fighting factions just fighting against each other, and the cinematic, you feel like you're actually watching a real war. You feel the claustrophobic, you feel it, you feel the visualness. Spoiler at the end, when Ramsey finally gets his new,
So fucking so satisfying.
it's satisfying. And that little smile on his face. That sentence at the end, this sells it 100%. The acting is incredible, the story is incredible. When people bitch about Game of Thrones final season, I say, sorry, it's an incredible show. I know people need to get over it.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately made, I believe Season 6, they were already running away from the books. So you know the writers have it in them.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get the business about the writers when they give you, a perfect episode on TV like this. I love this episode. It's my number 3. Yeah. Any thoughts on it from you two?
Is also my favorite episode of Game of Thrones. The battles in this are some of the best on-screen battles I've ever seen, TV and movie. It is a great episode. You hate Ramsay Bolton so much by the time that his death comes that you can't help but jump off the couch and scream. And the way he kills the youngest Stark is like, you son of a bitch. Making me worked up just thinking about it. But seriously, the way he dies is probably the most satisfying kill I've ever seen. Like, just...
And the interesting thing is, this episode isn't even a season finale.
No, it's second to last episode, isn't it?
Yeah. But I know people saying the season finale is better, but I think this is better.
Yep. Yeah, I'm with you. For me, it's better.
Yeah.
Can I just say, though, regarding this whole debate on whether or not they should have waited for the books and they shouldn't, the show went to hell as soon as they stopped following the books. They are TV writers. Mm-hmm. You hire them to write a TV. That's what they're supposed to do. It doesn't matter if it's part of the book or not. Like, like you said, Ben, people need to get over it.
Yeah.
That's the reason. I mean,
Like, if you want
Yeah.
the book stuff, read the fucking books.
read the books. Yeah. And I'm so tired of this conversation, not just with Game of Thrones, but everywhere. When people say that when a creator is adapting something from a book and he starts going away from the book, I mean that's what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to give you something new. That's why it's called an adaptation, not a copy paste action.
The argument that gets me the most pissed off isn't Game of Thrones, it's the whole Harry Potter adaptation thing. I love the movies and I love the books. Sue me. I
Yeah.
love the changes to the movies
Me
from
too.
the book.
Yeah, and some of the change. This is becoming a Harry Potter thing, but some of the changes in the Harry Potter movies were actually great, and some of them are even. I'll say it right here. Some of the changes they made in the movies better than the books.
Yeah, and that's the thing people got to realize is a lot of stuff that's in the books is not filmable.
Yeah.
That's just
Just
the
wouldn't
way
work.
it is. You ask
And-
any screenwriter that has to adapt a novel, and they will tell you all the same thing. The source material is not always 100% adaptable.
And here's, I'm sorry, but I gotta hit the nail on this head. As far as the Harry Potter movies go, Order of the Phoenix, longest book, one of the shorter movies though. But here's the one thing that I always say would always works better in the movie as opposed to in the books. It's when they're in the Ministry of Magic and all the Death Eaters show up to take the prophecy, and then all the Order of the Phoenix people show up and save them. And Sirius Black, just like in both versions, punches Lucius Malfoy and saves Harry. And he just in the books he tells Harry, "Listen to me. We're gonna hold them off. You got to get out of here." And Harry's like, "Okay, I'm getting out of here." And then he gets so shocked and surprised when Sirius. Spoiler alert: Sirius Black dies. In the movies, Harry's like, "No, I'm staying here. I'm fighting alongside you. We're in this together." And they both fight off the Death Eaters together. And even in the books, how does Sirius Black die? Again, spoiler alert: he gets hit with a jinx and knockback jinx, and he falls into that big giant stone curtain that was on that pedestal behind him, and he doesn't come back. And then later we find out that it's just like that. If you step through that thing, you're dead.
Mhm.
So like a portal to the dead, which I don't even understand why that's even a thing. But yeah, in the movies, how does he die? Avada Kedavra, and then he falls into that thing because it's already the passageway to death.
You're right. It is better. I just I mean, I've read the books multiple times, but I never really sat there and compared that particular scene. And you're right, the movie is better.
And you know what? And you want to know something else?
Of course.
Right before that happens, when Harry and Sirius are fighting together, Harry attacks Lucius Malfoy, and then Sirius Black, just without even looking at him, he's like, "Nice one, James."
Yeah.
And then Harry's looking at him, and that's like, ah! And then he dies. Like, how? Why? But yeah, better than that scene. Better than the books.
I've got my topic for next week.
Oh
There you
no!
go.
What have I done?
Actually, you guys will like it.
Okay. What is your number 3, Matt?
This is an emotional fucking episode. This is the one where, for some reason, I thought the 3 appearances by this actor were all around together, but this is actually 2 seasons afterwards. It is episode 14, season 3 of Scrubs. It's an episode titled "My Screw Up."
Oh,
It's the final appearance of Brendan Fraser on the show. Have you ever seen Scrubs 50?
I saw seasons 1 and 2. For some reason, I didn't have it continue. Yeah.
Okay, so because I can't properly convey this episode myself, I'm just going to read the entire plot off Wikipedia. It's going to be like 2 minutes. Just so I'm going to give you context. 50. Brendan Fraser's character, his name is Ben. Just that way.
Like this, Ben?
Yeah, like this, Ben, but not as cool.
No one is. Let's be honest.
I do want to say, going into this, I love Brendan Fraser in The Mummy. I love Brendan Fraser in George of the Jungle, in Cena Man, all that stuff. I think this episode, I think this 3-episode appearance of him
I'm with you.
is his best acting work ever. Okay, so Jordan and Dr. Cox are preparing to throw a party for their son Jack's first birthday. Dr. Cox advises JD not to attend the party because Jordan's sister Danny, with whom JD had recently broken up with, is also coming to the party. Jordan and Danny's brother Brendan Fraser, whose leukemia has gone into remission. However, he has neglected to have routine screenings, and Cox advises him to get checked out. Meanwhile, Turk and Carla argue over removing a mole from Turk's face, and Carla taking Turk as her last name after they marry. And one of Ted's band members quits. JD is taking care of an elderly man with an irregular heartbeat when Dr. Cox instructs him to run tests on Ben while Cox runs an errand. 20 minutes later, JD is called to resuscitate a patient who has gone into cardiac arrest. When Dr. Cox returns, JD hands him a chart and informs him that the patient died. Dr. Cox angrily blames JD and sends him home despite Ben's efforts to convince Cox that it wasn't JD's fault. 2 days later, Cox has been at the hospital for 60 straight hours, and it is apparent that Jordan is worried he won't show up for their big event later that day. Ben follows Cox around the hospital, apparently trying to convince him to go, but he claims to have a rule of thumb against attending parties where the guest of honor has no idea of what's going on. Meanwhile, Carla is busy annoying everyone as she's looking for advice. First, she's upset because she doesn't know what to do to repay Turk for having his role removed, but when he asks her to agree to take his name, hoping she would say no so he wouldn't have to have the surgery, she gladly accepts his terms. But after she is angry that Turk is forcing her to take his name. She asks to annoy Dr. Kelso for advice. He responds that she may end up missing the mole after it's gone, even though she thinks she hates it. She finally decides that Turk shouldn't have to have his mole removed, and Turk respects her wishes to keep his own last name. Now, this is where the episode really kicks you in the crotch, like 5 times in a row. Ben finally convinces Dr. Cox to leave the hospital to attend the event, as well as apologize to JD for blaming him for the patient's death, and on the way advises him to forgive himself. After Dr. Cox asks why Ben doesn't have his camera with him, JD arrives and brings Cox to the realization that not only is he not actually attending his son's birthday party, but also that Ben is not present. Cox and JD are revealed to be at a cemetery where they are joined by Jordan, Danny, and many of the hospital staff for what is revealed to be Ben's funeral. Ben was the patient who died under JD's watch. Cox, unable to accept the death of his best friend, had been seeing Ben's spirit as if he were alive. The episode devastated Dr. Cox uncharacteristically allows those around him to comfort him. I'm getting goosebumps right now just from reading that picture. Everything.
This is probably the best Scrubs episode.
Hands down. One of my best friends, he's the one that introduced me to the show. He's a nurse, registered nurse. He teaches up at our college here, the nursing course. And he said Scrubs is easily the most accurate depiction of what it's like to really work in a hospital. And watching this episode in particular, it's like, I'm so glad I don't have to work in that profession. I don't think I could be able to handle that, especially with someone that I knew who came in. But Dr. Cox is always in the series. He's the ball buster. He doesn't show emotion. He shows emotion, but I mean, he's always the strong one. And to see him have to go through this of losing his best friend over something that could have easily been checked out, it's just so hard to watch. And like I said, it's Brendan Fraser's best acting work across his entire career. So good.
I would put this. I love this episode. It reminded me of a Sixth Sense.
Yeah,
in a lot of ways.
That was on purpose. Yeah.
Yeah. It is perfect. It's a perfect episode. Nice pick.
So, yeah. So basically, the what was written, it was written so the audience for the episode is taped in front of a live, right? We're believed. No, sorry, I made a mistake. When I said the audience, I meant us, because we were led to believe that Ben's still alive, right? But there are all these clues throughout the episode that, right? And it's not until you find out what happened, you're like, son of a bitch. It's like, what? It's like, and then you realize that's why Dr. Cox is the only one that sees Ben. That's the only one talking to Ben throughout this whole episode. And and it's at the beginning of the episode, Ben even says he will take his camera with him everywhere until the day he dies. Right. After the patient dies, Ben does not have the camera for the rest of the episode. It's Such a good episode. I can't wait till we do our rewatch of Scrubs.
Yeah, maybe we do that after.
Yeah, we'll switch this in Parks and Rec. I'm fine with that because I can't wait to watch. It's been probably a good decade since I've seen the show, but this episode will always stick with me for how good it is.
I think I need to go back and rewatch that movie. I mean, like I said, I watched all of season 1, most of season 2, and then separate episodic arcs here and there. But this one somehow skipped me.
And I went into this episode, like I went into the series not knowing anything about it. So when I got to this episode, the twist just gutted me.
Yeah, me too. I remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your number 350? And hopefully it cheers us up.
Don't get your hopes up too much.
Shit.
Oh man, why do I have to follow that up? Definitely my number 2 would have been able to do that, but not my number 3. Okay, so here we go. It's an episode I believe even if Saul was here, she would have known about it. I'm surprised no one's even mentioned it. It's probably an honorable mention for some of us, but it is an episode called Twilight of the Apprentice.
From
Star Wars Rebels.
I completely didn't even think about Rebels while doing my list.
I'm assuming all the panel members have watched.
I've seen the whole series.
Is this the Obi-Wan one?
No, that's Twin Sons.
Okay.
That's my favorite episode is the Obi-Wan one.
Yeah.
But the episode I was considering Twin Sons for this list, which is kind of funny because that episode, Twin Sons, one of the best episodes of the season, which comes immediately after the worst episode of the entire show, Double Agent Droids. It's the episode with Steven Stadden's episode with when he's floating in space and singing or whatever. Yeah, it's the worst episode of the entire show, which is kind of weird that Steven Stadden played both Obi-Wan and that droid character. But anyways, we're getting off topic. Twilight of the Apprentice. It's Ahsoka Tano versus Darth Vader.
Never mind. This
now the penny drops.
This might be my favorite episode. This is one I don't really know the names of the episodes, but as soon as I saw what it was, like, yeah, this is actually my favorite episode.
Yeah, I cannot tell you how many times I've gone back and rewatched the battle between Vader and Ahsoka over and hands down. If we ever do top 5 Star Wars lightsaber battles, easily this one's the number 1 for me. Like, I think Ahsoka versus Darth Vader, best hands down lightsaber duel of all time. The music, the choreography, the action, the emotion, the story behind it, the fact that it's basically Ashley Eckstein versus James Earl Jones, but then Matt Lantern shows up at the end as Anakin, and we see Anakin's face, and we see how far Anakin's gone, and the rest of the episode is great also because it's on Malachor, which, if you know your Legends stuff in Star Wars, you know the history that happened on Malachor. And there's even a tease of what would be Kylo Ren's lightsaber with the cross saber there. Maul is back. Darth Maul is still alive because you just can't kill the motherfucker no matter how you try. But yeah, Maul is back. He blinds Kanan, which leads into the whole storyline of blind Kanan, and they fight the Inquisitors. Now, I know some people like to make fun of the fact that the Inquisitors are spinning their lightsabers around and they're using them as helicopter propellers.
I fucking love that. I love that lightsaber.
Yeah. I mean, like, what? Yeah, but like I said, I think it's the best episode of Star Wars Rebels. One of the best moments in Star Wars history, and it's my number 3. It is, and some people like to say that they kind of ruined it later by introducing the whole world between worlds and how Ezra saved Ahsoka. I'm fine with it because if that never happened, we wouldn't have gotten Ahsoka in The Mandalorian.
That's true.
So, and now we're getting an Ahsoka series, which is great.
Thank you, Ezra.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Ezra. Now, where the hell are you?
So 50. So you're pretty well versed in Star Wars. Then you really like Star Wars, eh?
What was your
Okay,
first clue?
we'll talk after the show.
Oh no.
No, it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Okay.
I produce a Star Wars show now, and I want to ask you if you want to be a guest. I just want to know if the time we record is too early for you.
Like I said, we'll talk after the show.
Yeah, we'll talk after the show.
Sounds intriguing.
Okay.
I have a question for you, 50. Have you seen the fan edit on YouTube of that scene when they added like a total flashbacks of Anakin and Ahsoka?
No, but
No.
can you send it to us in the chat?
Yes, I love that.
I'll have to find it to you and send it to you and adds to that fight so much more.
Yeah, no kidding.
The dial. I just can sit. We can make an entire show about that. Just that episode, like
Yeah.
the dialogue when the exchange between these two, where she says, "I was beginning to think I knew who you were behind that mask, but it's impossible. My master will never be as vile as you." And he just turns around and says, "Anakin Skywalker is dead. I destroyed him." Then she says, "Then I will avenge his death." And he says, "Revenge is not the Jedi way," which is something that Anakin used to say. And then she just goes full Lord of the Rings on his ass and says, "I am no Jedi." And she still isn't. People like to, even in The Mandalorian, people think she's a Jedi. She's not a Jedi.
That's true. She's
so-
not. She's force sensitive.
Yeah.
Anybody else while going through these lists? It's like, shit, I want to watch this show now. I want to watch this show now. I want to watch this show now. That's how I feel about Rebels.
At some point, I want to just watch all of Star Wars, start to finish, beginning with The Phantom Menace, all the way up to Rise of Skywalker, with all the TV shows and movies in between in the proper order, which is really going to be really difficult now that we have season 7 of Clone Wars, because it really takes place in between Revenge of the Sith. But
and the episodes are out of order too.
Yeah.
No, I have the full a list of the full order.
Oh yeah, because I think on Disney Plus they actually have an option where you can watch them in order.
Maybe in Canada, I looked on Disney Plus.
I've only heard about it. I haven't seen it, but now I want to go back and watch Rebels. But there's one problem: I'm gonna have to watch Clone Wars first because I've still never finished Clone Wars.
Why not?
I
don't know. I've started it and it's never finished it.
I have to say something. I watched Rebels without watching Clone Wars, and I made it just fine.
Oh, so did I, because I knew about these things. For the viewing experience, to get proper context, I wouldn't mind going back and watching those.
I see what you mean. Okay.
Yeah. The way I see it is,
listen to your mother, 50.
No. I tried to get you to watch this show. You didn't want to. That's on you. We started watching Clone Wars, and she was out within the first 10 minutes. So don't you put that on me, Mom. Don't.
Don't you put that even on me, Ricky, Mommy.
That's too funny.
Anyways, where was I? Oh yeah, I was gonna say, just watching Rebels without watching Clone Wars fully, I always compared it to watching Angel without watching Buffy.
Oh, okay.
You can still enjoy it, but you get more from it by watching the thing.
Yeah. But I love me some Rebels. Rebels is a great show.
Which one do you prefer, Clone Wars or Rebels?
Well, Rebels, because I haven't finished Clone Wars.
Oh. Okay, let me ask you this: Rebels or Mandalorian?
Mandalorian, easy.
I'd go Mandalorian, but it's not easy for me. Like, it's fucking close. That's how much I really like Rebels.
Rebels has, I would say, more lackluster episodes than Mandalorian does. That's
sure.
That's where Mandalorian has the advantage.
For sure. And when in Rogue One, when you saw the Ghost and when you saw Chopper, it was like, yes.
And General Syndulla, please report.
Yes. Damn it. Now, okay. It's going to be a long while for me. All right, Ben, what's your number 3?
My number 2 is...
I just woke up before we started recording, okay?
Okay.
At least you didn't wake up in the middle of the fucking show.
That's true. That would have been bad.
My number 2 is a Potter episode from Breaking Bad.
Mm.
People either love this episode or hate this episode.
Let me guess. The Fly?
Yep.
That's Ryan Johnson for you. Either love him or you hate him.
Never saw. I've only seen the pilot episode of Breaking Bad, so this is all new to me.
Okay. Let me just tell you is all about Walter White being trapped in a meth lab with Jesse, consumed to get a fly, a normal house fly. It is basically driving him nuts, and the whole episode is about him killing this damn thing. But there's more to it. There's nuance and metaphors you have to be in the episode to appreciate it. But to me, it is a great TV episode.
So I was wrong. Mine wasn't the only bottle episode on this list.
No.
It's basically just like the episode I brought up with BoJack Horseman. Similar meaning, but different setting.
This is a good episode. Breaking Bad is my number 1 all-time favorite show of all time. So,
which I'm surprised it doesn't mean this episode's not number 1 on your list, but I bought my grandparents the complete series on Blu-ray for Mother's Day. Now I'm kind of like, okay, maybe I should go back and watch the show, but unfortunately enough, it's not streaming up here at the moment, even though it was like a month ago. So it's like either wait for that or borrow the Blu-ray set for my grandparents when they're done with it.
You have to watch it, Matt. You have to. It's so damn good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I will get on that. I my interest is peaked to the point where I'm like, yes, I will give it a shot. I just gotta wait for the opportunity to rise.
50, do you have any thoughts on this one, or have
I never saw most of Breaking Bad. I saw a couple episodes of season 1 with some friends in the army, which is right when the show started. They kept watching the show like every day or so, but I don't know. It just never stuck around with me. Maybe because I didn't watch it from the beginning. But
my next is go back and rewatch it when you have time. It's really, really.
Yeah, I'm convinced. I've convinced myself to watch it. It's just like I said. It's not lack of time. It's just lack of.
I hear you. I hear you.
So it's like either wait for, like I said, wait for it to come back on streaming, or just when my grandparents are done, just borrow the Blu-ray set. But I'll let them finish it first. Yeah.
Okay, on that note, what's your number 2, Matt?
You ready to cry again, 50? Because this one you'll know. It is.
Is it the episode in the Lion Guard where the elderly lioness dies?
No.
Oh.
It is the 5th episode of the 7th series of the revived Doctor Who. The Angels Take Manhattan.
Oh,
fuck you! Fuck you!
So you guys know the episode then.
Yes.
So basically in this one, in 2012, the Doctor, Amy and Rory are picnicking in Central Park, and the Doctor is reading a book by 1930s detective Melody Malone. Rory is sent to 1938 by Cherub, Weeping Angel, and meets River Song, who is Melody Malone. The Doctor and Amy find Rory written into the book all of a sudden and attempt to take the TARDIS to 1938, but the TARDIS struggles to get there. The Weeping Angel collector Grail captures River and Rory and locks Rory in the cellar with several Cherub Weeping Angels while he has a Weeping Angel grab River by the wrist while he interrogates her. River is able to use the manipulator to allow the TARDIS to arrive. Amy, knowing River wrote the book to help them, uses it to look for Rory. River breaks her wrist to free herself, and Amy finds the cellar empty, and the Doctor locates Rory in an apartment building nearby. Rory enters an apartment with an elderly version of himself who dies without having seen Amy for many years. The Doctor realizes that the Weeping Angels have been using the building as a battery farm, sending the victims to their past while feeding off their time energy. Rory and Amy refuse to accept their fate and flee to the roof, where they jump off the roof, creating a paradox that destroys the building and the weeping angels. The Doctor, River, Amy, and Rory find themselves near the TARDIS in a graveyard in 2012. Rory catches sight of a gravestone with his name on it, and then he is sent into the past by a weeping angel who had survived the paradox. The Doctor is unable to go back to get him due to the paradox, and despite the Doctor urging her not to do so, Amy allows herself to be touched by the weeping angel in the hope of being with Rory. Her name then appears alongside with Rory's on the gravestone. River declines to accept to travel with the Doctor, but insists he should not travel alone. River tells the Doctor she will ask Amy to write an afterword in the novel, and the Doctor recovers the last page of the book he had torn out earlier, where Amy wrote to him, encouraging him not to travel alone. As a final request from Amy, the Doctor goes back to her garden in 1996, the morning after young Amelia Pond had waited for him, to tell her about her further adventures. And during this, you see images from the 11th hour of a young Amelia Pond going to the garden and awaiting the Doctor. You also see the Doctor fighting pirates. You also see Amy falling in love with a man who will wait 2,000 years to keep her safe, and giving hope to the greatest painter who ever lived, and saving a whale in outer space. So when I started watching Doctor Who, my parents came down to visit me, and my mom was like, what's this with this obsession with Doctor Who? So I explained the plot of this episode, and I started to cry while doing it. And my mom was like, I get it. It made my mom realize, and I showed her the episode, and she's like, I totally understand why you're into this. And what really made this I love the episode, but what really elevates this for me is when they're filming the scene where Doctor is reading the pages. Karen Gillan was just off camera reading the words while he was reading it. So the emotion that you see on Matt Smith's face is 100% Matt Smith.
Wow.
I'm sorry for bumming you guys out,
No.
but it's a
What is with you today?
To be honest, the emotional episodes are the ones that always connect to me. Always.
Oh, I know.
And I didn't know going in that this was Rory and Amy's last episode. So to see that happen, and just to see how gutted the Doctor was, because he lost his two best friends and he can't do anything about it, and he's a man who travels through time and space. It is so heartbreaking.
Well, I think we got Rory back on Vengeance and at least.
Yeah, and Amelia Pond does show up one more time in one of the greatest surprise cameos I've ever seen in Matt Smith's last episode ever as the Doctor.
I was gonna say last scene, but then I remembered that was incorrect.
Yeah, it was filmed during Guardians of the Galaxy, so Karen Gillan was wearing a wig. But basically, when the Doctor is ready to regenerate,
So was Matt Smith. They were both wearing wigs.
That's right.
The
They're both wearing wigs for that. But basically, the Doctor he's ready to regenerate. He's accepted his fate, and who's the one to walk down and give him a farewell before he turns into Capaldi? It's none other than Amelia Pond, who left filming Guardians of the Galaxy to film this hush-hush, quiet cameo. Nobody knew it was going to happen.
How were they able to keep it a secret in Britain?
It's in Britain. It's a lot easier to do that stuff over there.
Yeah, and that's sort of become Stephen Moffat's staple, because he basically did the exact same thing when Capaldi left with Clara.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people give Moffat shit, but then it's like you tell them about episodes like Angels Take Manhattan, and it's like, no, dude's good.
To be honest, a lot of people I know hate that episode.
Really? Oh, I love it.
I love it too, but a lot of people. One of the biggest arguments I had with a friend of mine is that he just couldn't get over the fact that the fucking Statue of Liberty is a weeping angel.
That one was a little weird for me as well, but it's like there's enough really good stuff in this episode that I was able to gloss over it.
Yeah. But first of all, no one's looking at the Statue of Liberty for 1 second. He doesn't believe that. And two, why? But yeah, like I said, the good outweighs the bad in that episode.
Very much so. No, this is a great episode. And then, like I said, just knowing how this is the beauty on the DVD, they have like production diaries and stuff. And for the one for this episode, it really helps elevate, because you're seeing the actors actually. This is all the emotions they display in this series. This episode is all the real emotions, because they know it's the last one they're going to do together.
And that happens in Doctor Who all the time. Whenever a big major character leaves, I mean, people like to give David Tennant shit for saying, "I don't want to go." But I mean,
love that.
Me too. And it's just, you can see the emotions of, even when Capaldi leaves and he gives that big speech, and it's Matt Smith leaving. Every time a big major character either dies or gets regenerated, even though it's just the show and the character is still going to live on, I mean, it's the actor. The show is just as much a part of the actor's life as it is part of our lives.
Yeah. This was my prime time peak with Doctor Who. I love this show so much at that time.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Of course.
I know there's a divide of you either love her or hate her with Clara. Do you love her or do you hate her?
I love Clara. I've never had a problem with her.
Yeah, how about you?
I'm not on the same page as you, Mr. Soda.
Really?
Especially, did you watch the Capaldi era?
The first season.
I think she was
only there for the first one.
It was one of those situations when a showrunner falls in love with a character he created too much. It's similar to what happened with Dave Filoni and Ahsoka, but with Ahsoka, you see how it could be used in a good way. With Stephen Moffat and Clara Oswald, it just went from. I loved her at first, but then at some point she became bigger than the Doctor, and to me that's a problem. The companion cannot be bigger than the Doctor. Like the Doctor is the Doctor. I mean, and companions come and go. The Doctor is the one thing stays constant. But at some point, she was just given way too much.
Right. Yeah. And then doesn't she become like a fucking Time Lord or something? She's traveling throughout the whole galaxy.
No, she doesn't become a Time Lord. But the way, I don't know if you've seen, you said you never saw Capaldi's second season, but yeah. Basically, I'm just going to spoil it for you.
I know Maisie Williams is involved in here somewhere.
And she becomes sort of immortal. But it's the way it ends is Clara dies and the Time Lords extract her right before her final heartbeat and her final breath. The Doctor somehow manages to save her, and she ends up giving the Doctor some sort of amnesia thing where he completely forgets all about her, and she's able to live out the rest of her life with only one heartbeat left. Her heart is still stopped. At some point, she's gonna go back to the moment before she died, so she can finally die. But she's like, you know what? Me and Maisie Williams have a TARDIS. We can just go and do our own thing. So she basically became another Doctor.
Yeah,
and and it feels like they're setting up for a spinoff with just her. Never really happened, thank goodness. But like I said, it was Moffat becoming way too attached to the character, and even with the whole death part of it, it was like he was trying to satisfy everyone. He satisfied the haters by killing her, and he satisfied the people who loved her by keeping her alive. And when you try to satisfy both factions, you ended up satisfying none of them.
Yeah, it's true. Now I want to do a rewatch of Doctor Who. God damn it. Okay, so 50. What is your number?
Not with 1953 though, but
I don't know if I could ever go back and watch them. Like I have some of those episodes, and it's like it's just it's not for me. But you're number 2, my man.
My number 3. Oh, sorry. My number 2. Here's the reason why I thought it was a number 3. But it's because it's a 3-parter. So it's a long one. So sit tight. This is from a little show called Pokemon. Remember that?
Yep.
Oh, don't worry. This next one, there's a little bit of tragedy.
50s mom. I'm really sorry.
Don't worry. There's a little bit of tragedy, but it's got a very happy ending. So here's the deal. Okay, so Pokemon. I probably should have looked up the names of these episodes. I apologize. But basically, it's the end of the Infernape saga in Pokemon. And for those of you who don't know, here's a very, very quick. I mean, I can't read it out from Wikipedia because it will take way too long, and we've already crossed the 1 hour mark. So here's the basic gist of it. Okay, in the Diamond and Pearl series of Pokemon, which is the 4th generation of Pokemon. Ash and Pikachu travel to the Sinnoh region. They encounter this asshole face called Paul. Paul, he's basically every bad stigma that you've ever heard about Pokemon in one person. He treats Pokemon terribly. He catches them, and then if they're not up to his standards, he releases them back and tells them they're pathetic and they're lame, and just tells them to go away.
Did you say the last 3 episodes of this season?
They're not the last 3 episodes of the season, but they're a 3-parter.
Is it Tag Were It, Glory Blaze, and Smells Like Team Spirit?
No, hold on. It's you want me to look it up while talking about it?
I've got the thing up. You keep describing, and I'll try to figure it out from what you're saying.
It might be season 10, but I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
So basically, he has this Pokemon called Chimchar. For those of you who don't know, Chimchar is a fire starter from Generation 4. It's a fire monkey. It's a monkey that breathes fire. But yeah, he treats him terribly. He barely feeds him. He has all of his much stronger Pokemon attack him at once. He puts him through grueling training. He treats him like shit, and he never really apologized for that. And Ash is always trying to tell him to treat him to stop doing it and treat his Pokemon like he would treat a person. And he's like, "That you're pathetic. Get out of here." So basically, and at the finale of the first season of the Diamond and Pearl series, he finally cracks and he lets him go and releases him back. And of course, Ash is the first person to show up and tell him, and reaches out his hand and tells him, "Come with me. Forget about that guy. Come with me, and we'll have a lot of great fun together." And obviously, of course, Chimchar allows Ash to catch him and joins him on this journey. And then later you find out why Paul was being such an asshole towards Chimchar. It's because Chimchar has this amazing blaze ability where whenever he's pushed to the very limit, to like the edge of his abilities, he just becomes ridiculously more powerful. In his fire abilities become stronger beyond the norm. And that's really what Paul wanted. He came to him telling him that he can help him control his blade, because when he gets into this state, he basically goes berserk. Like, he can't distinguish friend from foe. He just attacks everyone. So he goes to him and says, "I'll help you control it. I'll help you control this ability." But really what he does is just he pushes him to the edge of his abilities, trying to get him to activate this blaze ability. But yeah, that's the end of the first season. At the end of close to the end of the 4th season of the Diamond and Pearl series of Pokemon, that Chimchar has already evolved into an Infernape, and the last, and that's the moment where he's with Ash in the Sinnoh League tournament versus probably his best adversary so far in Paul. And these two have already battled multiple times throughout the series, but in one of the major battles that they had near Lake Acuity, Paul beat his ass pretty bad. So obviously, this rematch is Ash's chance at revenge, and Ash, despite changing some of his Pokemon on his roster throughout the entire league, for this battle, he uses the exact same 6 Pokemon that he used in the battle where he lost to Paul last time. And obviously, Paul changes up his roster, and like he says that's part of Ash's weakness, because he's using the exact same Pokemon that he had the last time, so he knows exactly how to combat that. But Ash, I mean, no spoilers there. Ash beats him using Chimchar Infernape, which evolved from the Chimchar that he got at the beginning of the arc. But Chimchar basically takes out most of Paul's team on his own. Like every other Pokemon in Ash's team has a moment to shine, because like I said, they all lost to Paul pretty badly last time, so they've got something to prove. They have a chip on their shoulders. They want to beat this guy. So all of them get their moment to shine, except Torterra, because for some stupid reason, the showrunners decided to make Torterra a jobber, which is stupid, because Torterra is one of the best Pokemon ever. You will not disrespect Torterra in my presence. So yeah, justice for Torterra. But other than Torterra, all of Ash's Pokemon get a chance to show off their skill. They give Paul a major fight, but right at the end there, it's Infernape versus Paul's Electivire, which when Chimchar was still part of Paul's team, Electivire, which was then an Elekid, he was like the bully big brother who kept being very abusive towards Chimchar. So yeah, right at the end there, it's Infernape versus Electivire, who has just taken out Ash's Pikachu, and it's just Ash is on his last Pokemon, Paul is on his last Pokemon, Infernape is barely standing. Obviously, the Blaze thing kicks in, and spoiler alert again, Infernape manages to take out Electivire in true samurai fashion. You think one is going to fall, but then the other one falls first. And it's incredible. And just like Twilight of the Princess, the emotion between the emotion of these scenes, how not just Ash, but the Pokemon themselves want revenge against this guy who beat them last time, none more so than Infernape, who suffered so much abuse at the hands of this person and at the hands of his Pokemon. To him finally to get his revenge, it is all the more satisfying, and it culminates with Paul walking up to Ash and saying him, "Hey, I was wrong. You're all right." And it's the longest battle in the anime's history, taking place over 3 episodes.
Holy shit!
It's a 6-on-6 battle that takes 3 episodes, but yeah, it's incredible. And the entire thing is on YouTube, by the way. Someone took all 3 episodes and kind of, what the hell is this?
What the heck did you do there, Ben?
Okay. So someone took all 3 episodes and kind of edited out all the bullshit filler stuff and focused it just on the battle. You have to watch it behind these square bars because, copyright stuff, but the entire battle is on YouTube, and it's like 45 minutes, I think. It is incredible, and even if you're not a Pokemon fan, just listening to my description here, you can just watch it fresh, and you're going to have a great time. Just watch the battle itself. And it's, again, one of the main reasons why the Pokemon anime works as well as it does, even to this day.
Nice. Okay. So, do we want to do honorable mentions now or do it after the fact like we did last week?
No, let's do them now.
Okay. So, you can go first, Ben.
Okay. Lucy goes into labor.
Okay.
The airport, Lucy goes into labor from I Love Lucy. The airport from Seinfeld. Was Zelda from Smallville. The one with the embryos from Friends.
That's on my honorable mentions too.
And Snapback from How I Met Your Mother.
Nice. Okay, I've got the Germans from Faulty Towers, an offensive episode, but still fucking fun.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't mention the war. I did it once, but I think I got away with it. The one with the embryos. Scott Tenorman Must Die from South Park, because that is easily the most depraved Cartman has ever been. And then I added
Your Tears of Despair of Delicious.
Yes. And then at the very end, dude, let's never piss off Cartman again. And then because it was brought up, I added 3 more. I added Battle of the Bastards, because goddamn, it's a great episode. My favorite episode of The Office, Beach Games, which is the one where Pam reveals to Jim her feelings, but also Andy's floating down the river in a freaking sumo suit. And Little Sebastian from Parks and Rec, which is the episode where Ron accidentally burns off his eyebrows in the front of his hair because Jerry, instead of putting gasoline, put lighter fluid in the torch and didn't tell anybody. And then it ends. It's the last episode of the season, and then it ends when Ron finds out his first wife Tammy One's coming to town. So he breaks into an air vent and grabs a survival pack that he's had up there for a long time, and he's just like, "I'm out of here, Godspeed!" And he just fucking runs to his cabin in the woods. Love that series. Okay, what about you, 50? What are your honorable mentions?
Okay, my honorable mentions are Legends of Tu Meow Meow from Legends of Tomorrow.
Okay.
It's the one where Constantine goes back and changes his own past, which ruins the timeline.
Is this the one with the boyfriend?
Yeah. He screws up the timeline, and he finds out some of members of the legends died, which drove the other ones insane. So he goes back and changes it again, and then they screw up the timeline even more, and then they keep going back and screwing up the timeline even further. At one point, they become puppets.
Yes,
Okay,
I love that.
I remember.
Puppets of Tomorrow, and it's. I think even though it's done for comedic effect, it's one of the best uses of time travel I've seen in television ever. Despite my number one being from Doctor Who, spoiler alert. But yeah, there's that one. There's also, speaking of Doctor Who, the episode Rosa. This is the one where I wish Saul was here. It's an episode from
the Rosa Parks episode.
Yes, the Rosa Parks episode.
I love that episode.
It's great. It's one of the best episodes of television ever.
Mhm.
And what I like best about that episode is that when the moment happens, and if you know Rosa Parks, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But when the moment happens, not only does the Doctor and the companions are passengers on the bus, the cameraman is also the camera angle is viewed from the point of view of people on the bus, which is great.
It's a fucking good episode. It's my favorite of what I've seen of Jodie Whittaker's Who run.
And my third one is one that I mentioned previously. It's the one in Lion Guard where the elderly grandmother passes away. I think it's the most adult episode of the show so far. And another good episode from the show is the episode where they introduced Suja, because I think Suja, for those of you who know what the Lion Guard, Suja is a very underrated character, and I would have loved to have seen more of him. But yeah, it's a great 2 episodes from 2 different seasons, but those are my honorable mentions. Obviously, 2 from the Lion Guard.
Yeah, of course. All right, Ben, take her away. What's your number 1 favorite episode of all time?
And my number 1 favorite planet also, and it gives you, it sets up the show perfectly, gives you an inside look at each and every one of its characters, makes you fall over the mystery, and it sets up the tone beautifully. It is the pilot episode of Lost.
Ah, okay. I should have known that Lost would eventually pop up on the list somewhere.
It is an awesome pilot. Gets you excited every time you watch it. Sets up the characters. Awesome. Great mystery. Very successful. Awesome episode on TV.
Where did 50 went and got lost, I guess. Yeah, I'm guilty. I've never seen this show, but hey, it's on Disney Plus now to stream, so that could change.
Watch it.
I need to become like an invalid or something to have all the time I need to watch all the stuff that I'm watching.
And it's also from the creators of Once Upon a Time.
Yeah, and of course JJ's involved in there somewhere.
Only in Lost, not in Once Upon a Time.
Yeah, in Lost, yeah.
But Lost came first, so you actually see where they got certain ideas for Once Upon a Time in Lost.
Gotcha.
And that makes sense.
So it's kind of a spiritual prequel to Once Upon a Time.
Right, well, yes. And some of the actors from Lost go over to Once Upon a Time.
Yeah, the tiny, what's the name of the giant? The tiny giant?
Antoine.
Anthony the tiny giant. Yeah. Anton the tiny giant. I love that guy.
Yeah. He's the Blitz from How I Met Your Mother.
Oh, I did. Yes, that's right. He was in Once Upon a Time. Yes. I've only seen the first, I think, like 2, maybe 3 seasons of that show.
He was in season 2, I think.
Yeah, season 2.
Yeah, another Vancouver film show.
Not surprising.
Yeah.
You know, where I come from, we have a saying.
Basically, you just told me to F off, didn't you?
No. It's like, I love myself.
Oh, if you really knew me, you knew that was far from the truth. All right. So my number one now, or you got more to say? Okay. So my number one is pretty damn obvious. It's How Your Mother Met Me from How I Met Your Mother. If you want my full thoughts on this episode, go watch our recapping series on How I Met Your Mother. But basically, this episode is all focused on the mother because she was introduced at the season finale of the previous season, and this episode spends the entire time catching the audience up on what she has been doing since the date of the pilot episode up until she arrives at the Farhampton for the wedding. It is the best origin story for a character I've ever seen on TV that was introduced later in the series, because in the span of 22 minutes, you cannot help but fall in love with this amazingly beautiful, wonderful, hilarious character. They do such a great job, and they kick you right in the feels when you're least expecting it, which is the very end when she picks up the guitar from her late boyfriend and plays, or the ukulele, and plays La Vie en Rose. And Ted is in the next room listening to it, and he says, "It's out of all the renditions of your mother's of this song, that first time I heard it's still my favorite." So beautiful, so good, such a great episode. It checks off all the boxes for me: humor, emotion, storytelling. Like it's the whole 9 yards. It is easily my favorite episode of all time.
I heard nothing but bad things about how that show ended, mostly because of the final episode.
Well, yeah, because a lot of because it played on your expectations. Like you're obviously with the title, like How I Met Your Mother, you kind of paint yourself in a corner. But I mean, if you just listen to the story instead of what you wanted to happen, it's a pretty good story. While I do admit season 9 does have its missteps, it's still a decent enough season. But that episode in particular is just heads and shoulders above anything they ever did.
Yeah, it's the Last Jedi of that show.
I'd say that. Yeah,
people came in with so many expectations, and it did what the show needed to do, and people didn't like it.
So it did, and it also, the show is very consistent with its themes of timing and stuff like that, and that's what a lot of people, I don't know if they realize or not, that a lot of the stuff was choreographed very early in the series.
And I don't mean to go off on a tangent, but you see this with every finale lately, every build up to something. People build expectations. They think they know what they want, and when they don't get them, they get pissed off and they turn on the show.
Yeah.
It happened with WandaVision, it happened with Star Wars, it happened with Game of Thrones.
It happened in Doctor Who.
That's true.
Doctor Who, How I Met Your Mother.
So far, Harry Potter, even with the Fantastic Beasts.
Yep.
I think the only one that actually somehow managed to stave it off is the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
Minus WandaVision, I guess, but yeah, I would say WandaVision kind of broke that streak.
Didn't for me.
Me neither.
Me neither, but yeah, people need to stop building up all these expectations. It's okay to have theories. Just don't let your theories block you from having a good, enjoyable time.
To those people, I have one bit of advice, and is the showrunners don't owe you jack shit. Just because you think something's going to happen doesn't mean it's going to happen. And if it's not what's going to happen, it's fine if you don't like it, but tough. They don't owe you anything.
My response to that is a little more tamed, which is shocking to me. But I sort of employ the Ken Napzok philosophy of you can judge it all you like, but at the end of the day, you can love it, you can hate it. That's what happened. Mm-hmm. It's like that. It's history now. It's canon now. You don't have to say not my Star Wars or not my Doctor Who. You don't have to just go and say I don't accept this. This never happened for me. It's part of the story. Just learn to live with it and see where you go from here. Like, I don't know if you saw the most recent season of Doctor Who. They did something pretty major, and people really don't like it. And to me, I just say, hey, I never would have thought of it, but that's the way it is now, and let's see how we can continue the story with it. You're looking it up right now, aren't you?
Yeah, I am, because I like I said, I only saw the first season of the Jodie Whittaker run, so I don't know anything that happened.
I can tell you what happened if you like.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, here's the basic gist of it. It turns out that the Doctor, what we knew of the Doctor is not what it really is. Turns out no one really knows. The Doctor is not really a Time Lord.
Oh,
She was found a lost child found somewhere on the edge of nowhere, and she was adopted by this Time Lord lady, who then she find out when her daughter died that she can regenerate, become a completely different person. So she experimented on her, causing her to regenerate dozens and dozens of times until she extracted that regeneration energy from her and passed it around to all the Time Lords, and that's how Time Lords got the ability to regenerate. And that's how and why they limited to just 12. And also the Doctor lived an entirely different life with several different other lives prior to being the William Hartnell version that we know of. So the Doctor's been around for who knows how many lives before he kind of took control of his own life and changed it, and that's the William Hartnell version that we know of.
okay. So A, I've got to watch this, but B, it also sounds like they pretty much completely wrote off that the Doctor has a limited amount of lives.
Because he's the progenitor of it. Oh, the regeneration ability came from him or from her. No one knows where the Doctor really came from. That's why no one even knows his name. And what the Doctor thought she knew about her life, not true anymore.
Damn.
Yeah, I can see why people get. I mean,
I can see it too, but
But like I said, I mean, people like to say that it's retcon. I say people use retcon way too willingly these days. I say it's not retcon. It's just something you didn't know about prior to that, and now you do.
And now
you try to write it off.
Because I'm really curious about see how that plays out.
I mean, it takes a while getting used to, but I've accepted it. I've made my peace that this is the show now. Like I said, let's see how we can move forward with this.
Yeah. And also, plus in that last season, we get the return of Captain Jack Harkness, who I love very much.
Yeah.
Merriman. What's his name from Arrow?
Malcolm Merlin.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sidebar 50. Did you ever see Torchwood?
What?
Did you ever see Torchwood?
Of course I did.
Really good.
I told you I saw everything from Doctor Who.
Oh, right, yes.
Including the spin-offs. Did you ever see K9 and Company?
No, that one I've never seen, but I have
seen
Sarah Jane Adventures.
Yeah, I love the Sarah Jane Adventures. Yeah. But yeah, Captain Jack Harkness. My mom, when we watched Arrow or just the Arrowverse in general, every time Malcolm Merlin shows up, he's like, "Oh, Jack." Mm-hmm. She just can't get over it sometimes.
Well, since we're on Doctor Who, and you said your number one is a Doctor Who episode, let's transition into it. What is your number 150?
I mean, I think it's the best episode of Doctor Who ever. I will say that the Rosa Parks episode is one of the best episodes I've ever seen of television. Mm-hmm. But Doctor Who, as far as Doctor Who goes in this little bubble, my favorite Doctor Who episode and my favorite episode of television of all time is the two-parter of The Stolen Earth and Journey's End, which, speaking of Torchwood and the Sarah Jane Adventures, it's a crossover between Doctor Who and those other two spin-offs. It is the Infinity War of Doctor Who before Infinity War was even a thing.
That's
10 years. 10 years exactly.
3, right? Series 3, right? That's with
4. It's David Tennant's 3rd season.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember who's the main companion. It was Donna. Yeah, Donna was the main companion for that one, correct?
The Dr. Donna.
Yeah, the Dr. Donna. Yes, you're right. Great episode. Great two-parter.
I mean, this episode it's both the Infinity War of Doctor Who, but it's also the Empire Strikes Back of Doctor Who, because it never fucking stops. Right from the first frame, every single scene, every frame is just either filled with action or story or emotion or comedy or whatever. It is the best episode ever, and how they were able to pull that off in an era where crossovers weren't that popular before. Like I said, I mean, it came out the same year that Iron Man did, so the MCU wasn't even close to being what it is now. And how they were able to outdo Infinity War 10 years before Infinity War happened, it's just, I love this episode so much. It is the best episode of the show in its entire 57-year history, and how they're able to pull off so many different elements in just the limited amount of time that they had with introducing another Doctor. And the whole regeneration thing, it becomes a meta crisis Doctor, and how they were able to close so many storylines and leave them with a nice bow, and how Mickey goes with Jack and Martha. Rose goes back to her own Earth with the meta crisis Doctor. Donna has her unfortunate fate, and you get to see cameos from like Torchwood. We get to see
you see Jackie, you see Wilfred, you see like all your favorite characters from David Tennant's run all come back.
And obviously they all came back in David Tennant's final 2 episodes, but this episode is definitely much better. And hold on, I have a phone call. Give me a second.
Yeah, you know, he's right. It is a great. Have you ever seen this 2-parter, Ben?
Never heard of it.
It's really good. Like okay, you could tell when Matt Smith joined, like the production value and all that stuff like jumped up astronomically. But he's right. What they were able to do with what they had, it's so good. I'd argue it's a fitting end for it's a fitting end for the 10th Doctor.
Can you watch this in a vacuum?
I can, because I've seen the whole series. Can 50 you might be able to speak onto this more than I can. Ben asked if you could watch this 2-parter on its own.
I mean, you can, but it definitely helps to see all of and as a matter of fact, even the Christopher Eccleston run.
Yeah, because Rose
some elements from that run also made it into this episode. And obviously, like we said earlier, the End of Time Part 1 and 2 are the definitive end to David Tennant's run, but the Stolen Earth and Journey's End are the spiritual end of this, because at that point we all knew that David Tennant's run is coming to an end. Everyone knew about it. They had to make a few more episodes to pull them out before few more specials before they introduced Matt Smith. But at that point everyone knew that his run was coming to an end, so this was like the very fan servicey way to end it. And the End of Time was for the cast and crew to end it.
Yeah, when he in the End of Time, when he goes, his last person he sees as he goes, and he sees Rose, and it says, "Oh, you're gonna have a great year."
Yeah.
God damn it! Now I see that's a toss up. Do I watch Home Improvement? Do I watch Rebels? Or do I watch Doctor Who?
Oh, I don't know.
You need to do just like Marty McFly's television in Back to the Future Part 2. We have 7 different screens, and you're watching all of it at once.
Yeah, Xbox used to have that feature where you could do like the screen side by side, but they took that away, the bastards. Yeah. Well, this has been a longest episode in a while. Hour and a half.
I think it's one of our best.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the soul couldn't be here, but yeah, it was. Yeah, so once 50 and I apparently get to start talking about Doctor Who.
Which is, again, why I wish Saul was here. Because even when we talked about earlier with The Angels Take Manhattan, I just wanted to see her face change as we talk about all these different concepts.
Oh, God, yeah, if only. Fuck. But anyways, so that brings an end to this list. So this episode gave me an idea for my next list next week. Your top 5 favorite Harry Potter movies.
Oh.
Fuck you!
I don't think you hear me on.
I thought you were gonna go Harry Potter moments, not movies. That's That's definitely harder.
That's actually, you know what? That's a better idea. Top 5
Okay.
Harry Potter moments.
Do we include the books though? Because some things didn't happen in the movie.
I will include movies. I'm not. I don't know about Fantastic Beasts. You know what?
Well,
everything in the Harry Potter universe.
Okay. Well, we all know what Soul isn't going to have on her list: the Fantastic Beasts movies.
Yeah. No kidding me.
Or the Cursed Child.
I don't like the Fantastic Beasts movie. I don't hate them, but I don't like them.
The first one is okay if a little on the boring side. The second one, I left it feeling like Charlie in that Pepe Silva episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where he's got like all the maps on the wall, like all the red lines, and that's how I felt coming out of that movie, and I haven't seen it since. And yeah, you're right, 50s mom. Yeah, it's a good yeah, I like that, and Saul's gonna like that because I know she loves Harry Potter.
And she's currently the Harry Potter champion until I get my shot at her. But regarding the Fantastic Beasts stuff, this is again, it goes back to my earlier point. It happened. It's part of the canon now. You can ignore it if you can ignore it if you like, but it did happen, and just try to figure out where you go from here. Like, okay, fine. Dumbledore had a secret brother. It's not like that's the only secret he ever kept, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you go back and read those books again, Dumbledore is not the saint that people thought he was.
No, he wasn't.
So it's not surprising to me that he had a section of his past that he tried so hard to hide. We'll talk more about that when Saul is here. So I think we're gonna have a lot of good discussion between me and Saul on this topic.
Dumbledore is kind of like the avatar for J.K. Rowling. Like she's not the saint everybody thought.
Yeah, I guess it's a good point. Yeah, it's a good point. Cursed Child, is that canon? Like, it's not going to be on my list or anything, but
to the best of my knowledge, it is. Okay. I mean, if you follow the J.K. Rowling canon, then it is, I guess.
See, what I would have liked them to have done is I would have liked to have seen them film the performance so that the rest of us could have seen what this looks like, because you're basically, when you're reading the book, you're just reading a script. If you've never read a script before, it can be very off-putting. But I hear to see it, it's actually quite a show. So I wish would have recorded it and released it in theaters or something, because I think that would have been
HBO Max. Just pointing it out.
Or HBO Max now. Yeah.
Max.
Yeah, or HBO Max now. Because I read it, and I didn't mind it. There was a couple good things in there that I actually enjoyed.
Yeah, that's where all the Harry Potter movies are right now on Peacock.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
What's up with that?
Distribution, it's a tricky mess. But yeah, so that's the end of our list and stuff. And yeah, now I can't wait, because I think next week's going to be a pretty good episode as well, because we all, I'm assuming, love Harry Potter.
I love Harry Potter.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I just had a pretty spicy idea.
Okay.
We should probably consult with Saul on this, but would you like to have Aisha Kenya show up on next episode as a guest on next episode? Because me and her have a Harry Potter match coming up next month.
I'm fine with that. We'll mention it to Saul, and
we should talk it over with Saul. We can talk to Aisha. That'll be nice and fun.
It would be. All right.
A nice preparation for our match together.
Yeah, let's book it.
We're gonna be here, obviously.
Yeah, all right, let's book it. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. 50, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on my YouTube channel, 50 Shades of Geek. You can find me also on Twitch, 50 Shades of Geek. I'm planning a pretty big stream of Pokemon Snap tomorrow. Hopefully I can make it. And all of my live streams on Twitch will go on my second gaming channel, 50 Shades of Gaming. You can also check me out on Patreon, patreon.com/Pokemon Star Cross and Crescent. I'm designing a Pokemon game based on Israel. And as I mentioned last week, you can check out my Fan League match over on Multiplex Entertainment, which was a Fatal 5-Way. I have another match coming up very soon against a former champion in 2 divisions, which is in round 1 of a tournament. So yeah, wish me luck.
Nice. And Ben, what about you? Where can everybody find you?
You can find me at my Twitter at Ben_Rainer. You can find me later today on Mount Slowdown, where we go over players' career. Today we're going over Drew McFeely. You can find me right here on the Media Studies Network every Thursday on Shooting the Breeze every Friday on Recapping the Past, and every Sunday right here on Get Ready. Matt, how about you?
So you can find me on my personal Instagram and Twitter at soda_the. Yes, 50.
Did you mention Ben's hot take?
No.
We'll talk about that off air.
Okay.
So yeah, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at soda_the_saxman. You can find me all over this channel on several shows with Ben, Recapping the Past, Shooting the Breeze, and of course this one. You can find me over also on my other channel, Schmoes of the North, where every week we break down on Fridays and on Sundays if there is a pay-per-view, the matches of the week in Schmoedown. And there are also several other shows on there you can enjoy, like the Canadian Comic Book Corner, which eventually we will release episode 3. It's that one's just all scheduling. It's just, it comes up when it comes up. And then a show that we just launched last week, but is already on its first hiatus just for timing. It is a Star Wars show that I am producing called Let's Taco About Star Wars, hosted by none other than Taco from our Schmoes of the North group, who I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name because it's very Italian.
I thought you meant Lon Harris's dog.
No, my friend Taco. And then his co-host, got none other than Gold Leader himself, Evan Bushkar.
What?
Yeah. And just fair warning, the first episode was almost 3 hours long, but that's because A, I was a fill-in last minute as producer, and B, we really didn't have a format going in per se, but it was a great time, great laughs had by all, and that's the vibe we're going to go forward. It's going to be not your normal Star Wars show, basically. It's going to be like out here. It's going to be the Collider Live of Star Wars show, if that makes sense.
Oh, boy.
Cody
That's 3 hours long.
Well, yeah, but we're going to keep it reasonable, and I'm going to be the Cody Hall of this, pretty much is how the best my role.
And
Do you have your own sound bites?
I could.
And Samsung is going to be mentioned. Wait for it, Jerry.
You're not wrong, and I got to say, it's funny. When we recorded was the very first time that Evan and Taco talked face to face, and their chemistry is off the charts.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can't wait to watch that.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to talk to you about off air. So on behalf of myself, Ben, and 50, thank you very much for joining us. Sorry again for an almost 2-hour show, but hey, hopefully you guys got some great content out of this, and it hopefully made me want to rewatch 3 or 4 shows. So on behalf of these two gentlemen, I would like to say thank you very much, and don't forget everyone, stay sweaty and smash cancer.
Smash.